Hey everyone, this is Angela here, and we're back having another casual conversation. Me and my friend Charlotta. Hey Charlotta, how's it going?
Hey everyone.
What is the topic for us today?
Integrity, my favorite word, my favorite feeling.
My favorite too. So we're in the same boat. Um, so I looked at the definition, and it says steadfast adherence to a strict moral or ethical code, the state of being unimpaired, soundness, the quality or condition of being whole or undivided, completeness.
There we go.
There we go. So, I mean, I guess I'll
Undivided.
undivided. That's pretty interesting. I mean, for me, I feel like in business, this has come up a lot in my life because I'm the kind of person that I want to put my head on my pillow where I know I did all I could do. I did the right thing. I didn't cut corners. I didn't sell something just to sell something. You know, I really focus on I am here to solve a problem for my customer, and that's that. And I don't and have never been able to understand how people can justify or lie to themselves or do those things and not have a guilty conscience, because I want peace in my mind. I don't want to waste energy ruminating on something that never had to happen because of my actions. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yes. But I was thinking, what if a customer wanted you to do something, to create something, whatever it is? I don't know how far you want to go into your product, but that was completely like, but they were a really high paying client that had been on board with you for 3 years. And how would you handle that and stay in integrity? And they were, I mean, it was, let's just say they wanted it. Um, and in their mind, it was perfectly legit. It made sense, this product that they wanted. But to you, it was like it went against everything.
Yeah, you cut out on me, but I got just for a tiny second, but I got the gist.
Okay.
You know what? I will say no. I will say no, turn business away. I will, it's not worth it. Um, this is the problem I think we have, whether it's business, relationships, just everything. It's like, it's not about being a pushover. It's about knowing your values, knowing your morals, and standing by them and having some to begin with. Most people say they have them, but if you ask them, they wouldn't be able to tell you what they are. And if that's the case, then you're not going to be able to stand by them because you're not tuned in with that aspect of being. And to me, that's such a part of the foundation of who we are. And how can we help others if we don't know that within ourselves?
I
And
think
yeah, go ahead.
just really, really easy if you're not in tune with that moral fiber, that beingness of yourself and your beliefs. It's super duper easy to justify. I mean, it's you can justify some pretty messed up stuff.
Oh yeah.
um
I mean, it just, if you look, I've always, integrity has always been important to me. And I can't exactly pinpoint why or how this became part of my makeup in essence, or something that's always been top of my awareness. But in the past 3.5 years, with everything that's been going on and the people wearing these, I quickly realized where my fire was, where my integrity is, and where I will not bend. And I witnessed people saying that they do have these certain values, they do have certain things, but then their actions don't match their words. And to me, ultimately, that's what integrity is about. It's not only the knowing, it's not of what your moral fiber is, but acting within that scope and letting your actions be in your integrity. It's a being in it, so that no matter what you're doing, how you're conducting yourself with others, that's your foundation.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy to realize when you're trying to slip out of that. It's like anytime you're asking questions about it in your mind, that's probably a big no. Like, no, you're questioning it. That integrity for me comes from such a deep place that you just know, when you know. Not that you shouldn't explore the whys or the maybes or whatever. I think that's great for growth, but ultimately, I think everybody knows what they should be doing from the get-go and they just ignore it, avoid it. But it's definitely, I would like to know how to explain it to people or teach it to people that to understand what that feeling is, because I, like you, it was something that came very, very early in age. I mean, I don't remember thinking, oh, that's integrity. I just remember like firmly standing my ground about whatever it was I believed in at that time, and feeling like if I go against this, then I'm going to be wrecked. Like, no, this is me. And I don't know, what in particular gave me that quality. And I see plenty of people that do not have it at all. Like, I don't think that they've ever had that feeling.
Well, and I think unconsciously, a lot of people are in a state of suffering because they're not connected with that. So they are making choices around a justification or some sort of belief that is not what they really want, but it's this unconscious pattern of doing what they feel they should do that elicits this, I don't know, elicits this whole suffering, I guess, back to that. So it's a suffering, it's excuses, that sort of thing, because they're not in integrity, and then they get angry at themselves and then project that onto others because they weren't acting from that place.
And then if you think about just society in general, it's pretty tough to be able to act from that place all the time and put food on your table. I mean, there are sacrifices, and you just justify, well, this is a sacrifice I have to make. Gosh, that just made me go into like discipline, this sacrifice. I have to do this, even though anyway, that's a veer off, but society is set up in a way that everybody's hurting because they're not given a space to act out of their own integrity.
Well, and I think too, you have to know where your line in the sand is. And if you don't know, then you will compromise yourself. You've got to know, if this happens, I am going to act this way. If you put yourself in these situations and scenarios, it's like, what's more important? My integrity, my real virtue, my honor, my respect, all these things tie into integrity. But if you don't know where that line in the sand is, and then there's an outside event or something that happens that pushes you beyond that, then there's going to be this sense of flailing or backtracking or redirecting.
Questioning yourself
Hmm?
or questioning yourself back to
Hmm.
that, like, oh, should I? Yeah. When you're doing that, you're going straight into making excuses. But I lost, there was a reason I repeated that and I lost it.
Well, I think it's if you're not strong in that place and there's an outside event that puts you into a heightened emotion, I think that's where you were going. It makes you more likely to not live from that place because you're fully in emotion, you're not thinking clearly. Um there's a compromise essentially.
It's making me think of why we want to heal, when you can look at these things that you're avoiding and you actually go through the emotions of feeling something bad that happened where you went against your better judgment. um a lot of people will just push that aside, make an excuse for it, and that's that. When you recognize it, you see it, you kind of put yourself through it, then you come out on the other side going, I am never going to do that again. Never. And that's when you draw that line. So, I mean, how do you find integrity then? You find it through screwing up, or you find it through making really beautiful choices that just felt right. And you're like, oh, yeah, that feeling. I want that feeling. It doesn't have to come through destruction necessarily, but that one usually hits a lot harder.
And I think you learn it from a young age by witnessing it in others or not. I do
Mm.
not want to be like that person, or that person is a good role model and example. And so there's an aspect of a learned behavior. And then as we get older, we figure out what that moral framework is for us if we're willing to look at it and dive a little bit deeper into what that is. But certainly how people conduct themselves in integrity, I think it can be difficult because at times it means being vulnerable, it means having humility, it means being honest. um so many things that fall under that umbrella that could be misconstrued, but that's what integrity is.
You notice how when you're around someone that has that really strong pillar of strength within them, how safe you feel? Those are the people you look up to. That is the feeling that you seek. It's like, I want to replicate that. I want to feel that way, and I want others around me to feel that way with me. And that is a very vulnerable place. That means that you are going to have some really uncomfortable conversations and constantly be talking about, how could I have done that better? How did I hurt your feelings? Help me understand what I did or didn't do so that I can align into a place where I'm more full, more safe. And of course, that goes away, that veers away from that personal integrity. It's difficult because if you're doing it for someone else, or you're using someone else to help you see yourself better, that one person can very easily take advantage of that.
Oh,
Anyway, I don't know if that makes
absolutely.
sense. I'm kind of going off, but
That makes sense. And I think too, when I was talking about that, it was really more from a young, when we're children and we're trying to figure that out. But it's it's frustrating because if you're someone that operates from this place and then you meet other people and they don't, or they put up a facade, or something happens where you see someone's true colors, it it can take you aback a bit. But I think when you do have that integrity and you are unwavering, even through those situations, you come back to that center and you're like, okay, that does not align with my values. This is not a good situation, whether it's a person, a job, whatever. And then you can make the choice and exit and do something different. But it doesn't mean those situations don't happen. And when they do, it just deepens even more in me what I stand for and who I am and what I'm willing to put up with, or which is not a lot. I'm not, I'm pretty unwavering. And I'll tell you a funny story. And forgive me if I've told you this before, but it feels relevant. It's one of my favorite stories as a child. Have I told you this about the trampoline?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't know how old I was, but I was a kid. And we used to play this game called Crack the Egg. So you cross your legs and you grab onto your feet. And there's like 4 people. And then one person stands in the middle and they bounce. And the last person to bounce off wins. Well, I'm on this trampoline and I must have been smaller than some of the other ones at the time, or whoever. It was like a bunch of neighborhood kids. So I'm getting bounced off first and I'm like, I'm not going to lose. So I am bounced off the trampoline. My nose, my face like hits the metal sides, like bleeding. And I'm on the ground and I am still together. This egg did not crack. I'm holding my feet. I'm like, no, I still count. I still win because I didn't break. And it just always stood with me. And I think there's an aspect to that that's related to tenacity, but it's connected with this topic because it's that unwaveringness. Like, no, you will not, the outside forces will not break me. I know who I am.
You're a mutable sign, right? Are you fixed, or
I'm Libra.
what is that? Cardinal,
Air.
fixed?
I don't know.
I should know that.
I don't know.
It's a fixed personality, but you're at the same time, you're super open-minded. So I wouldn't say it, but when it comes to holding your own, you're fiery too. It's funny.
Well, the Libra, the scale. So it's like, I can see this side, but I know where I'm at, So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. Yeah. Integrity. I think it's the most important thing. It's so important to live. Am I frozen?
Because it not to me. It initiates yourself. It initiates that constant self-reflection, that constant recognition of how you're feeling. You're checking in. At least speaking for myself, I think that's how, in my late teens, honesty became such a big deal to me because I don't even remember a story, but I remember instances where I fudged or I lied on stuff and how gross I felt. And I remember feeling just so nasty. And then coming out with that, telling the truth was like so liberating. It's like, yes. And then having to own that I lied and what I lied about, actually taking that in, holding myself responsible for it. I was free. I realized, like, you're free. So why would you want to lie? I had a roommate for a little while that had a sign on her computer screen that said, "What a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive." And I thought it was so funny because, like, she was the biggest liar He never listens to this, but I mean, seriously, he like lied about everything just for the sake of lying. So her screensaver was a lie to her. But
Wow.
anyway, it was so obvious to me that I would rather hold firm in myself and express myself. And it was even to the point of, friends asking, do you like this outfit? I'd be like, you know, maybe if you did this, and they're like, oh, what was wrong with it? I'm like, well, you asked, it's like, it got to the point where people would come to me only when they wanted to know the truth. So
Mhm.
those who didn't want to be around me, or those that didn't want to know the truth, that wanted to carry on with whatever behavior that they knew in their heart was wrong, they would steer clear of me until they were ready to face that. So anyway, that became really important. That was an integral part of who I was and how I expressed myself and the people I wanted around me. And so yeah, I would think that form of honesty, and I'm not saying that I don't embellish or white lie at times. I'm not trying to say that I don't, but when it comes to anything that really, really matters, I won't. It's just anyway. And that is what started probably integrity. I don't know, but I never thought of it as integrity. And I think it goes beyond just lies, or that it's also, for me, the word integrity, when I really understood what it meant or started using the word, I would look at my stepdad, who his work ethic, to always go to work on time. And when he was there, he would, give it his all. He was very motivated and disciplined. And I saw that as an extreme amount of integrity in how he was seen at work, how people perceived him. So yeah, that that I need a little bit more work on. But
Well, the
yeah.
word itself says into grit, sort of, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So you're like, this is my
yeah,
steadfast nature. This is who I am. And that's where that grit comes from. And it's, for me, it's showing up on time. Like, my whole life, I try to be on time. Of course, there are times where I have failed, but I'm conscious that I'm participating in something with other humans. And I have been part of things where I would have to wait on someone 45 minutes, an hour. I'm like, no, this is not okay. This is just not. Show up when you say you're going to show up. Do what you say you're going to do. Honor your word, or don't, or you're not going to be in my field, because I just cannot. The whole stand by your word, and just, if you're not going to do it, don't commit to it. Right.
exactly. Yeah, it's a total disrespect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's been plenty of things that I've not committed to just because I knew that I was only halfway or half-hearted there. So I'm like, no, either no, I don't want to go, or I'd like to go right now. It sounds good, but I don't know how I'm going to feel in a week. So, that's holding to my integrity of like, I don't want to disrespect you. Here are my boundaries. Here's what I'm capable of giving you right now. And it's not 100% promise that I'm going to go. And
Right.
then the other person has the opportunity to then say, well, if you're not going to commit, then just don't come. Okay, fair enough, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just being to the point, being upfront. And if it's not something important, then you can give a maybe. But that's a maybe. That's being honest. That's okay. I'm not in. I'm not all in. And if I'm not all in, I'm not committing.
Mhm.
It's that quote that says, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no.
Yeah.
And I love that, because that's where we waste our time. That's where we waste our time, because when we do something out of obligation or, feeling like we have to do it, we step out of our integrity. Because if we don't really want to, we shouldn't do it. And there are times, of course, where you make a sacrifice because you want to be there for someone, or because you want to show up and do the right thing, even if that's not what you really want to do. But then you're still honoring your integrity because you're coming at it from a clear mind and making the choice, and not from obligation, which is completely, if it's strictly out of obligation, that feels out of integrity to me.
Oh, I agree. Because you end up showing up with this sort of like resentment that I feel like everybody in the room should be able to feel. Like it's pretty obvious when someone doesn't want to be there. It's like, just go, just don't even be here. You're bringing it down.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my feeling. If I feel like I'm about to go, I don't even want to insert myself into that. It's not fair to the other people that are excited about it.
Right. And
You know?
it is challenging because we get pulled in so many directions, and it's there's a fine line, because there are times where I haven't wanted to go to something and then I'm glad I did. So it's learning to discern when that makes sense and when it doesn't, or when you're getting that when you can hear a little nudge, like, okay, I really don't want to go and do this thing, but I'm getting a little nudge that there is a reason I need to. And I don't know, that might not even be related to integrity per se, but
It's okay though, because I mean, yeah.
but you know what I mean.
And I
It's
think,
like
yeah. I mean, and
everything
then
isn't.
it's kind of like, okay, I don't really want to do this. I can't tell if it's just because would rather, work on this project, or I don't particularly like this person that's there, or whatever it is. It's kind of like you have to flip that script and go, okay, this is going to be an adventure. See how this works out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm pretty sure that it's impossible to act from integrity 24/7. I'm sure we make concessions all of the time, little ones at least. But when it comes to the really big stuff, life-changing decisions and stuff like that, I when I make that decision, I want that feeling inside of me that is completely aligned with it, where I'm like, yes, like a fuck yes. I think that's what you said earlier. I'm not sure if you cussed, but hell yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hell yes. um yeah, and I think too, the thing with having integrity is when other people fall out of integrity and it affects your relationship, you give them an opportunity to come clean, make right. And if they don't, you move on, because otherwise you're disrespecting yourself by staying in situations where the other person is not operating from a place of integrity.
Even if I feel like they're not operating from a place of integrity, I like to state how I feel, the vibe I'm getting, and then allow a space for them to explain. If they don't want to explain, or their explaining is total defense or total lies, then it's like, why are we even here? True integrity too works the other way. It's like, well, wait a minute, I offended you. How did that happen? What did I
Mhm.
say? Let's go through this. I want to know what happened, and to give this authentic, real interest. Like, I care about you. I want to know what it is that I said. I mean, you don't have to dwell on it. Come on.
Right.
Um,
And the other
yeah.
person has to be willing to do that with you.
Right.
And a lot of times, what I've found is when you're open and honest and you bring something up and they're not ready to hear it, or they're triggered, or they're in a state of cognitive dissonance or denial, or just simply choosing not to look at something, then you bang your head against the wall. So I agree, give them that opportunity to converse, to have a conversation, in whatever way makes sense. And if that doesn't happen, I'm out. I'm on to I'm moving on my life. Life's too, I don't want to dwell in that place. I want to open the door for the right people to come into my life, for the right situations, the right opportunity, the right whatever. And that's not going to happen if I recognize the situation and then dwell on it, like you were saying.
You mean you don't want to
Dwell.
rescue people, Angela? You don't want to rescue
No.
anyone?
I've been in that place before, and I want to help people help themselves. And if they're not willing, they're not, we're not going to be a compatible match, whether it's relationship, a friendship, a client, a business partnership, whatever it is, because I'm going to come at it from a place of having integrity and saying things that aren't always what people want to hear, not for the sake of intentionally offending or being confrontational,
Right.
because that's not the case at all. I'm going to do it from a place of, from a heart-centered place. If it's something uncomfortable I have to bring up, unless they're just an ass, and then I'm just like, okay, you're an ass, I'm out.
Yeah, it's all about open communication, and it's really honoring yourself in the moment that something strikes you wrong, pointing it out, asking about it. Let's explore this. However, however you approach it, but um, rather than sort of just letting it linger and waiting, oh, is that going to happen again? Pushing it away. Just nip that, And I'm definitely probably should work. Definitely probably. I'm going to work on that even more, at least in that heart opening way. I like how you said that, because there's been rough at times in my life. Just like, bleh, you said what? Bleh, kind of get me. Uh-oh. You're am I glitching for you? Am
You
I glitching?
did, but I
Yeah,
could hear you the whole time, and
okay.
I can see you now.
All right.
Yeah, I think one thing about integrity is people get into situations of convenience or taking advantage of someone, or someone being taken advantage of. Those situations are tricky because you don't always know it until you know it. And then the integrity can rear its head and say, wait a minute, this is not who you are. This situation isn't what you thought it was. So it's time to get back on that path. It's a constant redirection into that like the definition said, into that place of being undivided and unwavering. You go down the path and something happens and you're like, and then you're like, come back. Come back to
Yeah.
center, come back to center, come back to center.
Pretty amazing how you can make excuses for people and yourselves pretty easily.
Well, and the more inner work you do, not even that really, because that gets kind of ridiculous and old, but the more you just bring awareness and you're like, okay, I acknowledge this happened. I see it. I'm looking at it. And okay, well, what did I learn from this? Okay, I will not repeat that mistake again. Moving on. I don't think we need to sit in this state of constant self-help,
Right.
but I think the more we get to know ourselves and we learn to discern and we exhibit these traits that are important for healthy life, a healthy relationship with others, with ourselves, and with the work we're doing with the world, then when we were younger, where we may have gone way off path, over time as we get older and we learn all these lessons, it's more of a little like this. And then we're back, and then we're back.
Right.
Whereas when I was younger, I was like, way over here, not acting in my highest integrity. And it
Yeah,
took
it
me
wouldn't
a
have
little
had any
while
fun.
I'm like, it took me a while to get back on the road. But now I feel I'm much quicker at moving through things than I used to be. And will continue to be that way.
And also just the directness and addressing things right away. That comes a lot easier as you feel more confident in yourself and know who you are. That's why I think the self-help is truly, like you said, awareness and introspection of knowing yourself, watching yourself. Why do I do that? Okay, I see myself doing that. Redirect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's consistency, It's first just recognition. I think that so many people don't even recognize the crazy ass games they're playing with themselves and other people. They just don't even see it. They have no clue, none. And I guess this kind of goes into like talking back about childhood. I don't know what it was at such a young age that brought me to such a place of self-awareness to be able to see the inner workings of people and why they do things. And I mean, some people probably just don't have that natural inclination. And so I try to have compassion, but yeah, there's a ton of people that are just not looking at themselves at all. And so they're targets, and they're the victims, always the victim.
Always the victim. And I think too, we all have situations where we are a victim, and you either can stay in that. I always say I'm giving myself 24 hours and then I got to move. But if something happens or something big, I'll give myself more time and like move through it. But then it's who do I want to be? People don't ask themselves these questions. Who do I want to be? Who am I? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? How do I want to be treated? What do my relationships look like? When you sit down and you start asking yourselves these questions, then it brings to light some of these traits or values that are connected with integrity that are going to be able to allow you to have those things, to live that way. I don't know anyone, and I know there are people like this out there, and I know you do too, but for the most part, when you ask someone who they want to be or who they are, they want to be a good person. and they haven't defined what that is. They may not have the clarity or the tools to know what that is beyond going along to get along, or not ruffling feathers, which is what a lot of people have been taught is integrity, and it's, to me, it's not. It's like the complete opposite. But there is this universal desire with most people, I think, to want to live in integrity and want to do those things, but then they get caught in relationships that aren't right for them, or job that's not right for them, or whatever it is, and they don't know how to get out. They don't know how to move through it. And then they start living out of integrity, because deep down they do have a moral code. I think it's built into us, but they're not acting out of that, and they're functioning from an unconscious level. And then things happen. Things start happening, frustrations or problems or whatever it is, because it's trying to bring attention to what needs to be seen and worked on for that person to recognize where they're out of integrity and out of alignment. And like you were saying earlier, maybe that's the only way to get there, is to go through these trials and tribulations.
Yeah, it always goes back to the simple golden rule. I mean, for somebody that's confused, oh, what is the right thing? Da, 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 do unto others, man. It's pretty easy. Like, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? Like you said, you want to feel, people want to feel joy. They want to feel love. They want to feel successful. They want to feel important. And then treat other people that way. It's that simple. Doesn't mean you have to put up with their bullshit. Doesn't mean you have to sit around and take abuse. You just walk away in that case. But if you truly want to feel love, then be it. It's really so simple and so difficult. It gets convoluted so fast. Justifications, all sorts of justifications.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we're in integrity, that's where that respect comes from. Not only with ourselves, but in who we give it to. Because if I know this person I'm interacting with is operating from that place, then there can be a level of trust built, and just a deepening of the relationship. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, because it's like you can't have trust without truth. You can't have trust without integrity. It might look like it, you might say you do, but this is when you see situations where people are off doing something that's very different than what they're portraying. And that's not living in integrity, and that's going to bite you in the butt every time.
Yes, I agree totally. Trust. I've heard people say that they don't believe that you should trust anyone. That's a scary one. I mean, I'm not passing out trust freely.
Right.
But I want exchanges with people, the people in my life and near me. I want a level of trust, and obviously different people are going to have different levels. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It has to be earned, I think. It's something that's earned. I think
Lead by example.
And give people a chance to show you, knowing that they might hurt you, but there has to be a doorway to learn how, for them to earn it, for it to be earned, is by giving them that space to do that, and then let them show you their response.
Yeah, that goes right back to when you're having a conflict with someone, um, and you then come back to have a conversation about it and they shut down. Well, I can't trust that person. I don't feel safe there because we're not going to get anywhere if you don't want to engage in the conversation to not necessarily, I'm not looking to be right. I'm just looking to be heard. You know, we can agree to disagree in the end, but I need to have that level of communication where I feel like I can trust you enough to be safe in your presence to even have a conversation like that. And I think, you know, you and I have talked about this. These people are hard to find. It's very, very hard to find people that are willing to go there because it's scary. They have to look at themselves. And to be able to have those honest conversations is extremely, I mean, it can kind of rip you apart at times and make you or create a space where you're really having to dig in deep to yourself and look at things that you don't want to see.
Exactly.
Yeah, I keep getting internet unstable, so I hope I'm not. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you. There's been some glitches, but it's working.
Good.
Um, yeah, what were we I lost my train of thought, but yeah, the whole trust thing, being able to have those sort of conversations, that's what creates real friendship. That's what creates meaningful exchange when you can be vulnerable, when you can be honest, when you can say, when someone asks you, does this look good on me? When you can say, no, it doesn't. Because it's coming from a place of love. And that's what so many people don't understand, because our society is built up on this telling people what they want to hear. Everyone just tells everyone what they want to hear, not the truth. Body positivity. That person's going to have a heart attack. And you're over here telling them that, oh, you're perfect the way you are. People are
Eat
dying.
the Doritos. You're fine.
Everything's great. Everything is wonderful. And it's just bullshit. And there's so much of that in our world and in one-on-one relationships and in business. People, I've noticed over the years, this get worse. You're just communicating with internal people and within whatever your thing is, or even if you're just communicating with the AT&T person, you're just to the point, you're very factual, you're just trying to get things done and move on with your day, and people's feelings get hurt because you're not, they view that as mean, and I'm like, I'm not being mean, I am just trying to get to the point. But it's just so much is convoluted, and people don't want to hear any level of, people want things to be sugar coated, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They want that fake niceness, and to me, that's not kindness. That's separate. This nicety is often the fake kind, but kindness, that's coming from the heart. That's real. That's being honest. That's being genuine.
Even when it hurts. Yep, I couldn't agree more. And it is confusing. And I even would go so far as to say, I think there's nothing wrong with pleasantries to a degree.
Oh,
Like,
I agree. I agree. Because you don't know people, and you're just out in the world going throughout your day. That can make your day more enjoyable, and
yeah,
you
I
never know
love
who you might have a conversation with from that.
exactly.
So I'm not saying don't ever do that. But when it's expected because someone just wants to be comforted, I think it's it loses that value.
Oh, it does. And it feels so icky. It is the opposite of the feeling of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
It
And
feels so good.
like when you know someone's just being nice to be nice, and you can
Oh,
just read it on their
ugh.
face
Yeah.
in a way that's not like they really just want you to go away.
Mhm.
It's just funny. But people don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to admit that they make mistakes and that they can be wrong. And we all are. We all are. I want to be told if I just want to be told the truth, even if it hurts. If I do something wrong and I don't recognize it, then I want to know.
We should come up with some kind of one-liner, like right off the bat. So when you meet somebody, you can tell them this one phrase or this one sentence about you that basically tells them that, hey, be honest with me. Like if I don't know, you're the poet. You got to come up with something.
I'll have to work on that. Although I
Yeah.
do think the way I think eye contact can get people to open up or not.
Oh
There's
yeah.
something about just people don't make eye contact anymore. Go to the store, you run an errand, everyone's looking down because they're so used to looking at their phones. I try to look in their eye if they have a name tag on. I call them by their name because everything is becoming so dehumanized that I want to live from integrity. I want to treat people like humans. So I'm always trying to make those little connections in my surroundings because I don't know, but people do open up to me, strangers sometimes.
Do.
And
As a matter of fact, if I'm not in a pleasant mood, if I'm not in a good mood, I try to limit my outings just because it's not, I don't want to spread that around. Like I like to go out and be amongst people in the mood where I feel giving. I feel seen and like I can see, have an exchange. And I'm lucky to be in a small town because it is very, very friendly here. And I love it. There's not, it doesn't feel like a rat race. So I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, eye contact, smiling, open heart, like especially if I see someone that's having a bad day and it's obvious. I kind of got into this practice years ago and it's very woo-woo, but I love doing it. I will feel my heart swell and I will send out a bubble of love. It's light, lit up, and I will like hug them, not physically, but with this bubble and just my heart to theirs. It feels so good. And people feel that. And it could be that my eyes are radiating something. It could be that it's, just my smile or whatever. But um, so there's nothing wrong with kindness and loving another if you don't know someone. I mean, especially people that are shitty, they probably need it more than anybody else. They don't need to be called out on being shitty all the time because they know they're shitty. They need love. I'm not saying
right.
I'm gonna take abuse, but anyway, that's another tangent. But that's my integrity. My integrity is to have as much love as I can for myself and then others.
Well, and I think it's taking that moment, like if you're at the gas station and someone's getting gas next to you and you're just sitting there staring at each other. It's like, hey, how's your day? People don't just that. The person, it almost startles them. And they're like, oh man, it's they'll tell you how it is. They'll say something. And I love those little connections because everyone's just going through the motions, going through the motions. Like, oh wow, you're asking me how my day is. Oh, cool. Sometimes those little exchanges can really turn a day around and can be really meaningful moments in life. And I just think that's And you know, and no one ever knows. You're not virtue signaling. You probably don't tell anyone about it. You're just going through your day. That's living in integrity. You're just going out with this intention to be more present, more aware of the people around you.
Present, that's the word.
Hmm?
Present is the word. It's as simple as that, being present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's all a practice. It's a practice because if I'm wronged and I lose my shit on someone, am I in integrity? Yeah, because because that was not cool.
Yeah,
uh,
you're honoring yourself. You're taking up for yourself. And you know what? Even if it's an overreaction, let's just say it's an overreaction, I still think it's coming from integrity. I mean, you were honoring yourself and your feelings in that moment. Now, beating someone's head in, or taking it, it's like, where do you draw the line? I don't know. Like, I can trust myself to know where to draw the line, but maybe that's just part of the problem with a lot of society is they don't know where those lines are. And they're not listening enough to themselves and are caught up in everything else.
And
So
react.
how do we do it, Angela? How do we teach everyone, at least not integrity itself, but how to find it within themselves?
I think start with asking yourself what your values are and write them down. And then ask yourself, why are those your values? Because sometimes people think they have a value and they don't, or they don't understand why they have it. It's just been put on them from childhood. And I think because you have to know, you have to be able to embody it. So just asking yourself those questions is going to help you be able to do that more and more, I think. What do you think?
I love that. Yeah, I really didn't have an answer. I'm just like, feel it, just feel it. But no, me, write stuff down. What is that? But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great start. And that would be a good thing for me to do. I mean, and I think it'd be good for everyone to reevaluate those things. They should be kind of shifting and changing a little, right? If we're going to grow.
I don't know. I mean, I think some aspects of that moral fiber are the come back to that foundation that's always with us. Like I'm never gonna do wrong by my customer, for example. That's never gonna change. So unless I step out of my integrity or make a mistake or do something not intending, not intentionally. So
I guess top priorities of values, they might shift in placement. They're all going to be there, but the top three the three off the top of your head
like your
might
core
change.
values, right? Like you have your
Yeah.
core, what are those core values? Because if you think about even the definition and it being a core value, it's at your core of your being. You feel it in your core. You feel that yes, that no, yes, no. You always know the answer if you are tapped into that and will be unwavering. And that's different than being stubborn or not coming at from things because of wanting to be seen a certain way or passive aggressive or whatever, all that kind of stuff. It's literally like, no, I know who I am. This is in alignment. This isn't. This isn't. And just constantly coming back. And I do think reevaluating every quarter at least. Where am I? Am I making choices that are in integrity with who I am? Am I not? Kind of helps stay on the path that you're creating for yourself, that's wherever you want to go. But sometimes it's hard because you have to say no to a customer. You have to say no to an opportunity. You have to say no to something that is shiny object syndrome that would be amazing and sounds great and might bring a lot of money or a lot of something. But if it's not in integrity, you're going to regret it so much. And you might as well make that choice up front and allow something to come in that is aligned and trust that it can. Don't just do something. Sometimes those things are a test. Sometimes those things are a test of integrity, I think. It's like, oh, I could do this. Oh, I got this job offer. That happened to me once. I had well, I don't want to get into the whole story, but let's just say I had a situation where I was offered a job that I really wanted, and the current job I was at came countered and gave me more. And I stayed, but I wasn't in integrity because the job I really wanted, I didn't take. So, and that was many, many years ago in my 20s. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. Integrity. I'm sure we missed something around this topic, but
Oh, I'm sure we did.
It's been fun to chat.
Yeah, has been, as always.
As always. All right, I'll see you on the flip side.
All right, bye.
Bye.